Little girl calls 911. Daddy brought another client. Dispatcher calls for backup. Before we dive into the story, drop a comment below and tell us where you're watching from. Enjoy the story. The sound of tires on gravel made Harper's small hands move faster. 6 years old with watchful eyes, too. Serious for her age, she smoothed the worn bedspread one last time and tucked Mr. Whiskers, her threadbare teddy bear, safely beneath her pillow. "It'll be okay," she whispered to the bear's hidden form. "Just stay quiet, like I showed you." Through the trailer window, afternoon sunlight cast long shadows as a car she didn't recognize pulled up beside her father's pickup truck. Harper's heart fluttered like a trapped bird. She quickly checked herself in the cracked mirror. Hair neat, clothes tidy, smile practiced. Her father's words echoed in her mind. "Remember, Harps, your smile is our most valuable asset." 5 miles away at Pinewood Elementary, Miss Caroline Matthews gathered forgotten lunchboxes and sweaters left behind by children eager to start their weekend. One desk, however, held her attention longer than the others. Harper Wilson had fallen asleep during story time again. Today, the 3rd time this week. The child's ever-present long-sleeved shirts, even on warm days, troubled the teacher almost as much as the dark circles under those observant eyes. "Thinking about our little dreamer again?" Principal Roberts appeared in the doorway. "There's something not right." "Ellen?" Miss Caroline said, touching the small desk. "I've taught for 15 years. I know when a child is simply tired versus something else. Her father is raising her alone after what happened to her mother," the principal reminded her. "And according to everyone in town, he's doing a remarkable job. Charming man, works several jobs to support her. That's just it, everybody loves him. Nobody questions anything." Miss Caroline sighed. "Harper never mentions her mother or what happened. She never mentions much of anything unless directly asked." Back at the trailer, Harper stood. Harper, by the door as she'd been taught, hands clasped, wearing the smile she'd practiced. The one her father said was worth premium rates. "Well, hello there." The stranger's voice boomed as he entered. "You must be the little princess I've heard about." Harper's father placed his hand on her shoulder, squeezing gently. The squeeze had meaning. It meant remember the rules. "Welcome to our home," Harper recited perfectly. "Would you like some lemonade? I made it myself." Later that night, after the visitor had gone, Harper lay in bed clutching Mr. Whiskers close to her chest. The bear had been a gift from one of the nicer clients, as her father called them. She wasn't supposed to keep things from the visitors, but her father had made an exception for Mr. Whiskers after seeing how attached she'd become. "One day," she whispered to the bear, "we'll have a real house with a garden. No more special visitors." As Harper drifted off to sleep, Miss Caroline sat at her kitchen table, staring at the school district's reporting guidelines for suspected problems at home. Something about Harper Wilson kept her awake at night. But what could she report? A child who fell asleep in class. Long sleeves? A father everyone in town adored? She needed more. She needed something concrete, and Harper needed someone to notice what was happening behind the trailer's thin walls. Harper woke before the alarm clock, a habit born from necessity rather than eagerness. The morning sun hadn't yet broken through the thin curtains of the trailer, but she could already hear her father moving around in the kitchen. Today was Monday, school day, but also inventory day, as her father called it. "Rise and shine, business partner." Her father's voice carried the same cheerful tone he used with visitors. "We've got counting to do before school." Harper slid from beneath her covers, carefully tucking Mr. Whiskers into his hiding place. Her father didn't like seeing the bear out during their business hours. In the cramped kitchen, her father had laid out several envelopes and a small notebook. Harper climbed onto the chair, knowing exactly what to do. As he counted bills, she would sort coins into neat stacks of 5, recording each amount in wobbly numbers. "Good job, Harps," her father praised, watching her align the quarters perfectly. "You're learning the family business faster than I did at twice your age." "How much is today's total?" she asked quietly, her small finger tracing the column she'd written. Enough for rent and maybe that lasagna you like. He winked. Yesterday's client was quite generous. He might become a regular. Harper's stomach tightened at the word. Regular, but she kept her face neutral. Regulars meant scheduled visits, and scheduled visits meant less time for homework or the rare playdates her father occasionally permitted. At Pinewood Elementary, Miss Caroline watched the children file into her first-grade classroom. When Harper arrived, precisely 3 minutes before the bell as always, the teacher noticed her stifling a yawn. "Good morning, Harper." Miss Caroline smiled warmly. "How was your weekend?" "Productive," Harper answered with a peculiar formality. "Father says productivity is the key to success." During art time, while other children drew colorful families and pets, Harper meticulously created what looked like a store, with stick figures lined up outside. Miss Caroline crouched beside her desk. "What a detailed drawing," she commented. "Is this a special place you visit?" Harper hesitated, her crayon pausing. Mid-stroke. "It's home," she finally said. "Father says our home is also our business." "What kind of business does your father run?" Miss Caroline kept her tone casual. "He calls it premium companionship services," Harper repeated with practiced precision. "I help by being polite to clients and making good impressions." The bell rang for recess, saving Harper from further questions. Miss Caroline watched her carefully arrange her crayons by size before heading outside. Not to play, but to sit alone on a bench, watching other children with a mixture of curiosity and confusion. After school, Mrs. Bennett, the elderly neighbor whose property bordered the trailer, spotted Harper walking alone down the long driveway. On impulse, she called out from her porch, "Harper, would you like some fresh cookies? Just baked them." The little girl froze, glancing nervously toward her trailer before responding, "I need to ask permission first. Father says I'm not supposed to accept things without approval." "Of course, dear. Maybe another time." Mrs. Bennett watched as Harper hurried to the trailer, disappearing inside. A few moments later, a man emerged. Handsome, well-groomed, with a dazzling smile that had charmed half the town. "Mrs. B," he called out cheerfully. "Hope my little girl wasn't bothering you." "Not at all, just offering her cookies." "So kind of you," he replied, "but we've got a busy schedule today. Another time." As they spoke, Mrs. Bennett noticed Harper in the window, methodically wiping surfaces inside, her small face serious with concentration. For a child supposedly heading home for cookies, she looked remarkably like she was preparing for company. That evening, as Harper practiced her greeting smile in the bathroom mirror, she heard the crunch of tires on gravel again. Quickly, she smoothed her hair and straightened her shirt. "Just another day at the office, Mr. Whiskers," she whispered to her hidden friend. "Just smile and be valuable." The morning announcements crackled through the classroom speaker as Miss Caroline handed out worksheets. Her eyes lingered on Harper, who sat perfectly straight, pencil positioned with mathematical precision over her paper. Unlike the fidgeting children around her, Harper remained statue still until given explicit permission to begin. "Today we're drawing our dream jobs," Miss Caroline explained. "What do you want to be when you grow up?" The classroom erupted with enthusiastic shouts of astronaut, veterinarian, and superhero. Harper alone remained silent, her brow furrowed in genuine confusion. During the activity, Miss Caroline moved between desks, offering encouragement. When she reached Harper's station, she found an unusual scene taking shape. While other children drew themselves in colorful uniforms or holding tools of their imagined trades, Harper had meticulously drawn a store with a small figure standing at the entrance, welcoming a line of faceless customers. "That's interesting, Harper," Miss Caroline said gently. "What job is this?" Harper looked up, her eyes serious. "It's the family business. Father says I'm already learning it." "And what exactly do you do in this business?" Miss Caroline kept her voice light, though her concern deepened. Harper's voice dropped to a near whisper. I help with clients. Father says I'm good at making them feel special. She pointed to the small figure in her drawing. See? I greet them and smile, and sometimes they take pictures because I'm very valuable. A chill ran up Miss Caroline's spine. Before she could probe. Further, the classroom door opened, and Officer Davis entered for his monthly safety talk. The children cheered, all except Harper, who suddenly became intensely interested in her shoelaces. "Good morning, young citizens," the police officer greeted. "Today we're talking about community. Helpers, people you can turn to if you ever need help." As Officer Davis described various emergency services, Miss Caroline noticed Harper had shrunk in her seat, seemingly trying to become invisible. When he mentioned the 911 emergency number, however, Harper's head lifted slightly, a flicker of interest crossing her face. After school, Harper stood by the pickup lane longer than usual, her father uncharacteristically late. Miss Caroline used the opportunity to approach. "Harper, I notice you seem tired a lot. Is everything okay at home?" The little girl's practiced smile appeared. Instantly. "Everything is perfect. Father works very hard to give me a good life." "And what do you do after school? Do you have play dates or activities?" "I help with the business," Harper replied automatically. "Father says I'm earning my keep." Before Miss Caroline could respond, a horn honked. Harper's father waved from his truck, that charismatic smile brightening his face. Beside him sat a stranger, a well-dressed man who studied Harper with unusual interest. "Sorry I'm late, Pumpkin," Harper's father called out. "This is Mr. Reeves, a new client. He'll be joining us for dinner." "Miss." Caroline raised her hand in greeting, but Harper's father barely acknowledged her, his attention focused on his daughter's approach. Harper's entire demeanor had shifted, back straightened, smile widened, movements becoming almost performative as she climbed into the truck. That evening, a gentle knock on the trailer door surprised Harper. Her father was showing Mr. Reeves his collection of memorabilia in the back room, a time when Harper knew to stay quiet in the kitchen area. Opening the door cautiously, she found Mrs. Bennett holding a small plate of cookies. "Thought you might like these after all," the elderly woman whispered with a wink. "Father says I shouldn't," Harper began. "It'll be our little secret," Mrs. Bennett interrupted, pressing the plate into Harper's hands. Then, more carefully, "Everything all right in there, honey? You seem awful grown up for such a little thing." Harper glanced over her shoulder before answering. "I'm helping with the business. I'm very good at it." "What business is that exactly?" Mrs. Bennett asked. Before Harper could answer, her father appeared behind her, his arm draped casually around her shoulders, fingers gripping just a little too tight. "Mrs. B, what a pleasure. I see you've brought treats for my entrepreneur in training." He beamed, taking the plate. "Harper is learning all about customer service and hospitality. Aren't you, sweetheart?" Harper nodded obediently, the sparkle in her eyes dimming as she recited, "The customer's happiness is our highest priority." Later, alone in her room with one smuggled cookie, Harper whispered to Mr. Whiskers, "School was interesting today. They said there's a special number you can call if you need help. I wonder if they could help us get a real house with a garden." As she drifted to sleep, Miss Caroline sat in her living room. Harper's strange drawing spread before her, something troubling connecting in her mind. Rain pattered against the classroom windows as Miss Caroline distributed permission slips for the upcoming field trip to the local fire station. When she reached Harper's desk, the child was staring absently at the classroom door, dark circles prominent beneath her eyes. "Harper." Miss Caroline placed the paper gently on her desk. "Are you with us today?" The little girl blinked rapidly, straightening in her chair. "Yes, Miss Caroline, I apologize for my inattention." The formal, adult-like phrasing hung awkwardly in the classroom air. "Is everything okay? You seem extra tired this morning." "We had special business hours yesterday," Harper explained matter-of-factly. "Father says flexibility is the key to customer satisfaction." Before Miss Caroline could respond, Principal Roberts appeared at the classroom door, gesturing for her. With a concerned backward glance at Harper, She stepped into the hallway. "You wanted to discuss the Wilson situation?" Principal Roberts kept her voice low. "Something's not right, Miss," Caroline insisted. "The way she talks about clients and business hours, it's disturbing. And yesterday I saw her father pick her up with a stranger in the car. Harper called him a client." The principal sighed. "Listen, I understand your concerns, but Mr. Wilson is well respected in this community. He runs some kind of online business from home and is raising that child alone after tragedy. Without concrete evidence of something inappropriate, we can't make accusations. But document everything, Caroline. If there's really something wrong, build your case properly." When Miss Caroline returned, she found the class working on their assignments, all except Harper, who was methodically folding her permission slip into a perfect square. "Don't you want to go to the fire station?" Miss Caroline asked. Harper shook her head slightly. "Father says field trips aren't productive. The uses of business development time." During lunch, while other children chatted and traded snacks, Harper sat alone, arranging her food in neat sections that she ate in a specific order. Miss Caroline noticed how the child carefully collected her apple core and sandwich crust, wrapping them in her napkin and tucking them into her pocket. "Why are you saving those, Harper?" she asked, sitting beside her. Harper hesitated. "Sometimes we don't have dinner ingredients at home. These help." That afternoon, Officer Davis returned for a special safety presentation. Harper initially shrank into her shoe seat but perked up when he began discussing emergency services. "Remember, kids, 911 is only for real emergencies," Officer Davis explained. "Like if someone is hurt, or if you're in danger, or if you see something that feels really wrong." "What kind of wrong?" Harper asked suddenly, surprising. Everyone with her raised hand. Officer Davis considered the serious-faced child. "Well, if someone is taking something that doesn't belong to them, or if someone is making you do things that feel uncomfortable or scary, or if an adult is making you keep big secrets." Harper nodded slowly, absorbing this information with unusual intensity. After class, Miss Caroline approached Officer Davis. "Could I have a word about one of my students?" Before she could elaborate, they were interrupted by a commotion in the hallway. Harper's father had arrived early, his megawatt smile drawing admiring glances from staff as he strode toward them. "Officer, what a pleasure to see our finest in blue connecting with the community." He extended his hand warmly. "I'm James Wilson, Harper's dad." Officer Davis shook his hand. "Nice to meet you, sir. You have a very attentive daughter." "She's my pride. And joy, and quite the little business assistant, too." James beamed, placing his hand on Harper's shoulder. "Ready to go, Princess? We have a busy evening ahead." As they turned to leave, Miss Caroline noticed Harper glance back at Officer Davis, a question lingering in her eyes. That evening, Mrs. Bennett was watering her garden when she noticed unusual activity at the Wilson trailer. Several expensive cars had arrived, their owners entering one by one. Through the windows, she glimpsed Harper serving drinks, her movements precise and rehearsed, like a miniature hostess. Later, after the visitors had gone, Mrs. Bennett spotted Harper sitting alone on the trailer steps, staring at the night sky. "Stargazing, honey?" she called softly. Harper looked up, surprised. "I'm counting," she replied. "Father says counting helps when you feel funny inside." "Funny how?" Harper considered. "This. Like when you want to say something but you're not supposed to." Her small voice dropped lower. "Do you know about the special number? The one for emergencies?" Before Mrs. Bennett could answer, the trailer door opened, spilling light across the steps. "Harper, inside now!" James called, his voice pleasant but firm. As Harper obediently stood, Mrs. Bennett noticed something fall from her pocket, a small, carefully folded piece of paper. After they disappeared inside, she retrieved it, finding Harper's field trip permission slip with something scribbled in childish handwriting in the he margin. "Help me count the clients." The following day, Miss Caroline arrived at school earlier than usual, a folder of Harper's unusual drawings and notes tucked under her arm. She found Principal Roberts in her office, already reviewing emails. "Ellen, we need to discuss Harper Wilson again, Miss, Caroline said, pulling out the field trip permission slip Mrs. Bennet had discreetly delivered to her mailbox. "Look at what she wrote." Principal Roberts adjusted her glasses. "Help me count the clients." This could mean anything, Caroline. Combined with everything else, the way she talks about business hours and falls asleep in class, how she hoards food, something is happening in that trailer and we're failing her by not investigating. The principal sighed. "I'll make a call to family services, but without specific allegations." Their conversation was interrupted by a gentle knock. A tall woman with silver-streaked hair and kind eyes stood in the doorway. "Sorry to interrupt. I'm Samantha Morgan, Sam to friends. I just moved to Pine Creek and I'm volunteering at local schools. The secretary sent me here." Principal Roberts brightened. "Of course, Ms. Morgan. We've been expecting you. This is Miss Caroline Matthews, our first-grade teacher." Miss Caroline studied the newcomer with interest. "Were you in social work by chance? Your name sounds familiar." Sam smiled. 30 years in Child Protective Services before retiring last month. Thought I'd keep busy by volunteering instead of watching daytime television." "Perfect timing," Miss Caroline murmured, sharing a meaningful glance with the principal. Later that morning, Sam observed Miss Caroline's classroom from the back. Her experienced eyes immediately noted Harper, not just her physical exhaustion, but the hypervigilance, the way she scanned adults' facial expressions before responding, the startled flinch when anyone moved too quickly. During recess, while the other children played, Harper sat on her usual bench. Sam approached casually, taking a seat nearby. "Not a fan of tag?" she asked. Harper studied her carefully. "Father says running is undignified for a business representative." "I see," Sam nodded. "What business is that?" "Premium companion services," Harper recited. "I'm training to be valuable." Sam kept her expression neutral despite the alarm bells ringing in her mind. "I'm Sam, by the way. I just moved into the blue house down the road from Pinewood Drive." Harper's eyes widened slightly. "The blue house with the garden, near Mrs. Bennett's?" "That's the one. Do you live nearby?" "In the silver trailer behind the big oak." Harper's voice dropped. "Father says it's temporary until business improves." Their conversation was interrupted by the recess bell. As children lined up, Sam noticed Harper straightening her clothes and practicing different smiles. "What are you doing?" Sam asked gently. "Checking my presentation," Harper replied. "Father says appearance is 70% of our business value." Throughout the day, Sam assisted in different classrooms, but her thoughts repeatedly returned to Harper. After school, she deliberately took the route past the Wilson property, slowing her car as she passed the trailer partially hidden by trees. A luxury SUV was parked beside James Wilson's truck, and through the trees, Sam glimpsed Harper standing rigidly by the door as a well-dressed man entered, her father's hand resting on her shoulder in that now familiar grip. That evening, Sam sat at her kitchen table, dialing a number she knew by heart despite her retirement. "Marcus, it's Sam Morgan. I need a favor from my old department." She glanced out her window toward the distant trailer. "It's about a child named Harper Wilson." Meanwhile, at the trailer, Harper sat cross-legged on her bed, whispering to Mr. Whiskers. "The new lady seems different," she confided. "She asks questions, but not like the others. And she lives in a blue house with a garden." Her voice dropped even lower. "Maybe she could help us with our plan." From the kitchen, her father called, "Harper, come practice your welcome speech. We have a premium client. Coming tomorrow, double rates." Harper tucked Mr. Whiskers under her pillow. "Coming, father." As she rehearsed the greeting, Harper's mind drifted to Officer Davis's words about emergency numbers and big secrets. For the first time, she began to wonder if what happened in the trailer might count as something wrong. Across town, Miss Caroline sat with Mrs. Bennet, piecing together their observations over cups of tea. "Those men who visit," Mrs. Bennet whispered, "they're not family friends. They're too polished, too Interested in that child. But interested how? Miss Caroline pressed. That's what we need to know. Mrs. Bennet's wrinkled hand trembled slightly. Whatever it is, that little girl is asking for help in the only way she knows how. And heaven help me, I'm not going to ignore it. Dark clouds gathered over Pine Creek the next morning, promising the heaviest rainfall in months. Harper watched from the trailer window as her father paced anxiously, phone pressed to his ear. Yes, I understand your concerns about the weather, he said smoothly. But I assure you, our premium experience isn't affected by a little rain. Of course, if you prefer to reschedule. When he hung up, his charming facade cracked. Third cancellation today, this storm is costing us valuable revenue. Harper remained silent, secretly relieved. Cancellations meant no visitors, no performances, no practicing her business smile, until her cheeks hurt. The storm broke as Harper arrived at school, rain hammering against the roof while thunder rumbled in the distance. Miss Caroline noticed an immediate difference in Harper's demeanor, her shoulders less tense, her eyes more present. During morning activities, Harper actually raised her hand to answer a question about the weather cycle. When lightning flashed outside, she didn't flinch like the other children. Instead, she smiled at the window. You seem to enjoy storms, Harper, Miss Caroline observed during art time. Harper nodded, adding a brilliant lightning bolt to her drawing. Storms are good for business, she said simply. How so? No clients come when it storms. Father says road safety comes first. For once, Harper sounded like a normal 6-year-old, her voice lighter, almost playful. At lunch, something extraordinary happened. When Emma Pearson dropped her apple, Harper picked it up and offered it. Back with a genuine, unpracticed smile. Then hesitantly, she asked if she could sit with Emma and her friends. Sam, observing from across the cafeteria, exchanged meaningful glances with Miss Caroline. Something about the storm had disrupted Harper's routine, creating a small window into what she might be like under different circumstances. After school, the downpour intensified. Roads began to flood and several parents called saying they'd be late. Harper waited patiently in the classroom, drawing pictures of houses with gardens while Miss Caroline graded papers. When her father finally arrived, he was clearly agitated. Sorry for the delay, Harper. The road to the trailer is flooded. We have a problem. Are we still having visitors? Harper asked, her voice carefully neutral. All canceled, he replied tersely. And worse, there's water coming through the roof. We need to find somewhere to stay tonight. From the doorway, Sam cleared her throat. I couldn't help overhearing. I have a spare room if you need emergency accommodation. James Wilson studied Sam with guarded suspicion. Who exactly are you? Samantha Morgan, new volunteer at the school, just moved to Pine Creek. I'm in the blue house on Pinewood Drive. Harper's eyes widened at the mention of the blue house. James caught her expression, and his demeanor softened slightly. That's very kind, but we wouldn't want to impose. It's no imposition, Sam insisted. In fact, I could use help with a leaky window. I'd pay for your handyman services, of course. The mention of payment visibly shifted James's calculation. Well, if we'd be helping out. As they drove through the storm to Sam's house, Harper sat silently in the back seat, clutching her school bag that secretly contained Mr. Whiskers. Her heart raced with nervous excitement. She was going to see the blue house with the garden up close. Sam's home was modest but charming, with bookshelves lining the walls and a sun porch overlooking a small but vibrant garden. Harper stood transfixed by the window, watching rain drench the colorful flowers. You like gardens? Sam asked, bringing her a towel for her damp hair. Harper nodded, still staring outside. In real homes, people have gardens. Sam's heart tightened at the implication that Harper didn't consider where she lived a real home. While James worked on the leaky window, Sam showed Harper the guest room, a small space with a proper bed, not the fold-out cot she used in the trailer. This is where I'll sleep? Harper whispered in disbelief. All yours for tonight, Sam smiled. Are you hungry? I was about to make lasagna. Harper's eyes grew impossibly wide. Lasagna is Only for when I've been extra good with clients, she said automatically, then immediately looked frightened, as if she'd revealed too much. Sam maintained her casual tone despite the alarm rippling through her. Well, at my house, lasagna is for rainy Tuesdays. No special reason needed. That night, as the storm raged outside, Harper experienced a series of firsts. Eating seconds without asking permission, taking a bath without being timed, wearing borrowed pajamas that were soft and smelled like flowers. When Sam tucked her in, Harper whispered, "Is this how normal people live, without clients and business hours?" Sam smoothed Harper's hair gently. "Most people, yes, families come in all shapes, but children aren't usually part of business transactions." "Oh." Harper considered this, her small brow furrowed in thought. After Sam left, Harper pulled Mr. Whiskers from her bag, pressing him close to her chest as she whispered, "I think we found what normal feels like." Outside the guest room, Sam made a quiet phone call. "Marcus, it's me again. I need that welfare check expedited. I've heard enough tonight to know we're running out of time." Morning light filtered through. Curtains, real curtains, not the thin sheets that barely covered the trailer windows. Harper blinked awake, momentarily confused by the soft bed and colorful walls of Sam's guest room. For a precious moment, she forgot about clients and business hours and simply existed as a 6-year-old child. The smell of pancakes drifted upstairs, pulling Harper from beneath the warm covers. She found Mr. Whiskers and whispered, "Remember everything. We might not come back here." Downstairs, Sam stood at the stove flipping pancakes while Harper's father reviewed his phone, frowning at the screen. 3 more cancellations, he muttered. "This weather is killing us financially." "Morning, Harper." Sam smiled, sliding a plate of pancakes shaped like stars toward the kitchen island. "Hungry?" Harper glanced at her father for permission before approaching. He nodded distractedly, still scrolling through messages. "The trailer situation," Sam began conversationally. "How bad is the damage?" James sighed dramatically. "Roof's leaking in 2 places. I've got tarps, but it'll take a few days to properly fix. And with all these cancellations, you could stay here until it's repaired?" Sam offered. "No charge, just help with some household repairs I've been putting off." Harper froze mid-bite, her fork suspended in air. "Stay here? In the blue house with the garden?" James studied Sam carefully. "That's unusually generous. What's your angle, Ms. Morgan?" "I'm new in town and have empty rooms. Harper could walk to school with me. It's practical for everyone." Sam kept her voice matter of fact. "Besides, I was in social services for 30 years. Helping families in temporary crisis is practically reflex at this point." At the mention of social services, James stiffened almost imperceptibly. "You were in child protection?" "Family resource coordination," Sam replied smoothly. "Connecting families with emergency housing, job training, child care, practical solutions." The tension in James's shoulders eased slightly. After a calculating pause, he agreed. "Just until the trailer's fixed. I'll need to collect some things from home first." After breakfast, they drove to the trailer to gather essentials. The storm had left its mark. A large branch had crashed through the roof, leaving a jagged hole above Harper's bed. Rain pooled on the floor, soaking her thin mattress. "Good thing we weren't here," James observed, surveying the damage. "Grab your clothes and school things, Harper, and be quick about it." While her father assessed the damage, Harper hurriedly collected her meager belongings. In the bathroom, she discovered something unexpected, a small digital camera wedged behind the toilet, likely dropped by the last client before the storm. Without fully understanding why, Harper slipped the camera into her backpack alongside Mr. Whiskers. Something about Officer Davis's words about evidence echoed in her mind. Back at Sam's house, Harper was given a small dresser for her clothes. As she carefully arranged her belongings, she examined the camera more closely. It was still on, with a half-full battery. Curiously, she pressed a button, and the screen lit up showing multiple photos, images of the trailer interior, close-ups of the sale sign her father sometimes displayed, and several photos of Harper herself looking uncomfortable in her business clothes. A knock at the door startled her, and she quickly hid the camera under Mr. Whiskers. "Getting settled?" Sam asked, entering with fresh towels. Harper nodded, her heart racing. "Thank you for the drawers. I've never had real furniture before." Sam sat on the edge of the bed. "Harper, can I ask you something important?" When Harper tensed, she continued gently, "What exactly does your father's business involve? What do these clients come to see?" Harper's practiced smile appeared. Instantly. "Premium companionship services. I help by being polite and making good impressions." "And what does that mean exactly?" Harper recited carefully. "I greet them, serve refreshments, answer their questions, and sometimes they take pictures of me for their collections." Sam maintained a neutral expression despite the alarm bells clanging in her mind. "Do these pictures ever make you uncomfortable?" Before Harper could answer, James called from downstairs, "Harper, come help unpack the kitchen supplies." That evening, while James went to purchase roof repair materials, Sam invited Miss Caroline and Officer Davis over for an emergency strategy meeting. "He's selling something related to that child," Sam explained in hushed tones, while Harper watched television in the next room. "Not explicitly illegal from what I can gather, but deeply exploitative. He's marketing time with her photos, the experience of her premium companionship." Officer Davis frowned. "Walking a fine legal line, without evidence of actual harm." "The harm is psychological," Miss Caroline insisted. "You've seen how she behaves, like a miniature employee rather than a child." As the adults whispered in the kitchen, Harper sat very still in the living room, the forgotten camera heavy in her pocket. She wasn't watching the cartoon on TV. Instead, she was listening intently to the hushed conversation, understanding more than anyone realized. For the first time, Harper began to consider that perhaps what happened in the trailer wasn't normal after all. Perhaps it was one of those wrongs that Officer Davis had talked about, the kind you were supposed to report. Her small fingers closed around the camera in her pocket. Evidence, he had called it. Evidence of something wrong. The next morning, Harper woke to an unfamiliar sound. Her father's voice, tight with controlled anger, coming through the heating vent near her bed in Sam's house. "What do you mean, a welfare check? On what grounds?" A second voice, Sam's, responded calmly. "Standard procedure when emergency housing is provided through former social services personnel. Nothing to worry about if everything's in order, James." Harper sat perfectly still, listening intently as Sam continued. "They'll visit tomorrow afternoon. Just routine questions, verification of living arrangements, nothing invasive." The conversation shifted to repair schedules for the trailer, but Harper had stopped listening. A welfare check. Her father had prepared her for this possibility many times, drilling responses into her until they became automatic. "Remember, Harps," he'd instructed during these rehearsals, "if officials ever come asking questions, you smile your sunshine smile and tell them how happy you are, how well I take care of you, how our business visitors are just nice people who enjoy your company because you're such a special girl." At breakfast, her father's public smile was firmly in place, but Harper recognized the tightness around his eyes. Danger signals. "Harper, princess," he said between bites of toast. "Remember our practice conversations? About what to do if important people ask you questions?" Harper nodded solemnly. "Smile, sunshine, smile. Say I'm happy. Say you take good care of me. Say, business visitors are nice people who like my company because I'm special." Sam, overhearing while preparing school lunches, maintained her neutral expression with practiced effort. "Exactly right." James patted Harper's hand. "There might be some people coming to talk to us tomorrow. Important. People who need to see what a happy family we are." The day at school passed in a blur of anxiety for Harper. During recess, she found herself gravitating towards Sam, who supervised the playground. "Are the important people coming to take me away?" Harper asked suddenly. Sam crouched to Harper's level. "No, sweetheart. They're just checking that you're safe and well cared for. It's their job to make sure all children are okay. Father says if I don't say the right things, bad people will separate us forever." Sam chose her words carefully. "Harper, these visitors want to hear the truth. Whatever that is, no one wants to separate families that are healthy and happy." Harper considered this. What's a healthy family? One where children feel safe, where they're allowed to be children, not little adults, where they don't have business responsibilities or clients. Harper's face clouded with confusion. "But Father says I'm valuable to the business, that my smile is worth money." Sam gently touched Harper's shoulder. "A child's value isn't measured in money, Harper. Never in money." That afternoon, James insisted on picking Harper up from school himself, claiming they needed to prepare for tomorrow's visit. Back at Sam's house, he immediately led Harper upstairs. "We need to practice, Harps. Extra rehearsal time." He pulled a notepad from his pocket with anticipated questions. "What do you say if they ask about the clients who visit our trailer? Their fathers, business associates who sometimes take pictures because I'm a special girl," Harper recited. "Good. And if they ask if anyone ever touches you inappropriately?" "I say no, never. Everyone is always nice and respectful." "Perfect. And if they ask if you're ever uncomfortable or scared at home?" "I say I'm always happy with you because you're the best father." James nodded approvingly. "Remember, these people don't understand our business model. They might try to make it sound wrong or strange, but it's not. It's just creative entrepreneurship." From the hallway, Sam overheard everything, silently recording the rehearsal on her phone. When James mentioned taking Harper to the hardware store, Sam casually offered to finish dinner preparations. The moment they left, she called Officer Davis and Miss Caroline. "He's coaching her extensively," Sam reported. "He's smart, staying just on the legal side of exploitation while essentially selling access to her company and image." "Did you find anything in their belongings?" Officer Davis asked. "Nothing definitive, but I heard him mention a business ledger he needs to retrieve from the trailer before tomorrow's inspection." That evening, while James helped Harper bathe and prepare for bed, insisting on privacy from their host, Sam noticed Harper's backpack partially open on the kitchen counter. A small object caught her eye, the corner of a digital camera. Sam hesitated only briefly before carefully sliding it out. Turning it on, she quickly scrolled through the images, her stomach tightening at what she found. Nothing explicitly illegal, but deeply troubling. Posed photos of Harper in various outfits, the sale sign prominent in backgrounds, images of men sitting uncomfortably close to the child. She quickly connected the camera to her laptop, copying the files before returning it exactly as she'd found it. Later, after Harper and James had gone to bed, Sam sat in her darkened kitchen, staring at her phone. She had the welfare check scheduled, potential evidence copied, and growing concerns about James's behavior. But something felt off, a nagging sense that James was already planning their next move. Upstairs, Harper lay awake, Mr. Whiskers clutched tightly to her chest. Her father's rehearsals had always seemed normal before, but Sam's words echoed in her mind. A child's value isn't measured in money. For the first time, Harper wondered if there might be a different way to live. Without clients, without performance smiles, without being valuable to the business. Tomorrow, she whispered to Mr. Whiskers, everything might change. What Harper couldn't know was how right she was, though not in the way anyone expected. Morning sunlight spilled across Harper's borrowed bed as she carefully smoothed the princess pajamas Sam had loaned her, soft cotton with tiny crowns that sparkled when she moved. Her father had frowned at them, muttering about impractical sentimentality, but had allowed her to keep them since they were temporary. Today was the day of the welfare check. Her father had already been up for hours, pacing between rooms, making phone calls in hushed tones, and reminding Harper of her lines every time they crossed paths. "Remember, Princess," he whispered during breakfast, "sunshine smiles today." Harper nodded automatically while stealing glances at Sam, who moved calmly around the kitchen preparing lunch bags. There was something different about Sam, a steadiness that Harper had never experienced before. The way Sam spoke to her without expecting performance or value in return felt like discovering water after a lifetime of thirst. At school, Harper couldn't concentrate. Miss Caroline noticed her staring blankly at her worksheet, pencil untouched. "Everything okay, Harper?" she asked gently. Harper's rehearsed smile appeared. "Everything's perfect. I'm just thinking about important visitors coming today." During reading time, Miss Caroline selected a storybook about a princess trapped in a tower who had to solve her own problems rather than waiting for rescue. Harper listened with unusual intensity, her fingers tracing the page where the princess discovered her own strength. "Can I borrow this book?" Harper asked after class, surprising Miss Caroline with the direct request. "Of course you can, sweetheart." Harper tucked the book carefully into her backpack next to Mr. Whiskers and the camera. Something was building inside. Her questions she'd never allowed herself to ask, feelings she'd never had names for. After school, her father picked her up early, his smile broad but his eyes sharp. "Big afternoon, Harps," he said, guiding her quickly to the car. "The welfare people will be at Sam's house in an hour. We need to prepare." Instead of driving directly to Sam's, James headed toward their damaged trailer. "Need to collect some important business documents before the inspection," he explained. At the trailer, Harper waited in the car while her father hurried inside. Through the window, she watched him gathering papers, removing the sale sign that sometimes hung near her bed, and stuffing what looked like business cards into a shredder. When he returned to the car, his smile seemed more relaxed. All set. Just normal business privacy measures. Back at Sam's house, they arrived just as a government car pulled into the driveway. Two people emerged, a stern-looking woman with a clipboard and a younger man with kind eyes. "Right on time," James remarked, his charm instantly activated. "Harper, remember what we practiced." But as they walked toward the house, Harper felt the princess book pressing against her back through her backpack, along with the weight of the camera filled with uncomfortable photos. She thought about Sam's words, about children not being measured in money, and about the storybook princess who saved herself. For the first time in her short life, Harper Wilson wondered if she might have the power to change her own story. Inside, Sam greeted the social workers with professional courtesy, her eyes finding Harper's with a gentle reassurance that somehow said, "The truth is stronger than any rehearsed line." As they all settled in the living room, Harper's father squeezed her hand, a familiar signal to begin their well-practiced performance. But Harper was no longer sure which lines were hers and which had been written for her by someone else. The social workers introduced themselves as Ms. Winters and Mr. Grayson. Their questions started simply, Harper's school experience, her daily routine, her favorite foods. Harper answered mechanically, feeling her father's approving glances with each perfect response. The conversation seemed to be following the script they had rehearsed, until Ms. Winters asked a question they hadn't prepared for. "Harper, what do want to be when you grow up?" Harper hesitated, her rehearsed smile faltering. In all their practice sessions, her father had never considered this question. His business plan had always been the only future discussed. I want a garden," Harper said softly. "A blue house with flowers." James laughed too loudly. "She's been impressed by Sam's place. Kids are so easily influenced, aren't they?" Mr. Grayson smiled kindly at Harper. "That sounds like a lovely dream. Do you like flowers?" "They grow all by themselves," Harper replied. "No one has to tell them how to be valuable." Uncomfortable silence fell over the room. Harper sensed she had strayed from the script, but couldn't understand why her honest answer felt so powerful. The interview continued for nearly an hour. Harper maintained her rehearsed responses, but small cracks had begun to appear in her performance, moments of genuine emotion when she described Sam's house, hesitations when asked about visitors at the trailer. To everyone's surprise, the social workers found no technical violations. The trailer damage was clearly from the storm. Harper appeared well-fed and educated. James's business documentation, freshly edited, showed only vague entertainment consulting services that couldn't be immediately disputed. "We'll need to schedule a follow-up visit once you're back in your permanent residence," Ms. Winters explained as they prepared to leave. "Standard procedure." Harper watched her father's shoulders relax as he walked the visitors to their car, his charm on full display. Sam remained in the doorway, her expression carefully neutral despite her obvious disappointment. "They didn't see," Harper whispered, standing beside Sam. "They didn't see the real things." Sam looked down at her. "What real things, Harper?" Before Harper could answer, James returned, triumphant. "Well, that went perfectly. I told you there was nothing to worry about, Harps. Our business model is completely legitimate." That evening, James announced they would return to the trailer the following day. "The roof's patched enough now. Time to get back to our own place and restart operations. We've lost almost a week of revenue." Harper nodded obediently, but her heart sank at the thought of leaving the blue house with its soft beds and warm kitchen where food was freely given, not earned through performances. After dinner, while James made business calls on the front porch, Sam helped Harper prepare for bed. "Are you okay with going back to the trailer tomorrow?" Sam asked gently as she tucked Harper in. Harper's eyes filled with tears she'd been trained never to shed. The social workers didn't understand. They didn't see the camera or the sale sign or how Father makes me practice smiling until my face hurts. Sam sat on the edge of the bed. Sometimes adults don't see what's happening, even when they're looking right at it. Sometimes children have to be very brave and ask directly for help. "How?" Harper whispered. "Remember what Officer Davis taught you about emergencies? There are people whose only job is to listen when children need help." Harper's eyes widened with understanding. "The special number?" Sam nodded slightly. "I'll leave my phone charging in." "The bathroom tonight. Sometimes when adults don't see the truth, brave children have to show them." After Sam left, Harper lay awake, listening to her father's voice drifting up from downstairs as he made arrangements for new client appointments. Tomorrow they would return to the trailer. Tomorrow the performances would resume. Tomorrow her brief glimpse of normal childhood would end. Unless... Harper slipped from beneath the covers and retrieved the princess book from her backpack. By nightlight, she read again about the princess who solved her own problem instead of waiting for rescue. In the darkness of Sam's guest room, a 6-year-old girl made the bravest decision of her young life. The house fell silent as midnight approached. Harper lay perfectly still, counting her father's snores from the room across the hall, waiting until they deepened into the heavy rhythm of deep sleep. Mr. Whiskers clutched tightly to her chest, she whispered. "It's time to be brave." Moonlight guided her path as she tiptoed to the bathroom, where Sam's phone glowed softly on its charger. Her heart pounded so loudly she feared it might wake the entire house. With trembling fingers, Harper unplugged the phone and carefully closed the bathroom door. She remembered Officer Davis's lessons about emergencies. 3 numbers, 911. Simple enough for even the youngest children to remember, yet they felt impossibly heavy as her small finger hovered over the keypad. What if she was wrong? What if this wasn't really an emergency? What if her father was right and she was just a valuable business asset helping them survive? Harper thought about the Blue House, about Sam's kindness, about meals freely given without performance requirements. She thought about other children at school who played instead of practiced client greetings, who drew families instead of businesses. She pressed the numbers. 911. "What's your emergency?" A woman's calm voice answered. Harper's carefully rehearsed words dissolved. After years of practiced scripts, she found herself speechless in this crucial moment. "Hello, is anyone there?" The operator prompted gently. "It's okay, you can talk to me." "My name is Harper Wilson," she finally whispered. "I'm at the Blue House on Pinewood Drive." "Are you hurt, Harper?" Do you need medical help? Harper clutched Mr. Whiskers tighter. I'm not hurt, but tomorrow we go back to the trailer and... Her voice faltered. Take your time, sweetheart. I'm listening. The operator's kindness unlocked something in Harper. Papai trouxe outro cliente. Posso ficar com esse? Ele parece legal. She repeated what she had heard so many times, what she'd been trained to accept as normal. On the other end, Grace, the 911 operator, felt her blood run cold at the child's words. 16 years answering emergency calls hadn't hardened her to moments like this. Harper, you're very brave for calling. Can you tell me more about these clients? They pay father to take pictures and spend time with me. He says I'm valuable to the business, but Sam says children shouldn't be valuable for money. I have a camera with pictures they took. Grace typed rapidly, alerting her supervisor and dispatching officers to the address while keeping her voice steady. Is there an adult with you who can help you right now? Someone you trust? Sam. She left her phone for me to find. She knows something's wrong, but the social workers didn't see it. Can you wake Sam without disturbing anyone else? A noise in the hallway made Harper freeze. Someone's coming, she whispered. The bathroom door opened, flooding the small space with light. Harper braced herself to face her father's anger, but instead found Sam standing there, her expression a mixture of concern and pride. I thought I might find you here, Sam whispered, kneeling beside Harper. May I speak with them? Harper nodded, passing the phone with shaking hands. This is Samantha Morgan, retired Child Protective Services. I'm with Harper Wilson, age 6. Sam's professional tone returned instantly as she provided details while keeping an arm protectively around Harper's shoulders. Through the bathroom window, blue lights appeared in the distance, silently approaching the house. The officers will be here in a moment, Sam explained gently to Harper. You did something incredibly brave tonight, something that might help other children too. Harper looked up, confusion crossing her face. Other children? Sam nodded gravely. I suspect your father's business involved more than just you. As police cars pulled quietly into the driveway, Harper whispered, Will my father go away? I don't know yet, Sam answered honestly. But I promise you won't have to. Go back to the trailer or see any more clients. Harper hugged Mr. Whiskers tightly. Can I stay in the blue house with the garden? Before Sam could answer, heavy footsteps sounded on the stairs, not the careful approach of police officers, but the angry stride of someone who had awakened. Unexpectedly, Harper's father appeared in the hallway, his face contorting from confusion to fury as he spotted Harper with the phone, Sam's protective arm around her shoulders, and the flashing police lights through the window. What have you done? He demanded, lunging toward the bathroom door. Everything happened at once. Sam pulled Harper behind her as James reached the bathroom doorway. Downstairs, the front door opened with the authoritative announcement of police, followed by rapid footsteps on the stairs. You ungrateful little... James's words cut off as Officer Davis appeared. Behind him, accompanied by 2 other officers. James Wilson, step back and put your hands where I can see them, Officer Davis commanded. For a moment, Harper's father seemed to consider his options, his eyes darting between the officers and his daughter. Then his shoulders slumped, the fight visibly leaving him as he raised his hands. This is all a misunderstanding, he began, his charm surfacing even now. My daughter had a nightmare, that's all. Harper, still clutching Mr. Whiskers, found her voice. I have the camera, she said clearly, with the pictures, and I can show them the sale sign in the trailer. As the officers led her father away, reading him his rights, Harper remained in the bathroom with Sam, trembling but standing tall. You were so brave, Sam whispered, holding Harper's small hand. Braver than many grown-ups I know. The next few hours passed in a blur. Kind officers asked gentle questions while a woman named Dr. Miller sat beside Harper with dolls and drawing materials. Unlike the social workers from before, these adults seemed to truly see her, to understand the significance behind her carefully chosen words about clients and business value. When Harper showed them the camera, Dr. Miller's face remained calm, but her eyes grew sad as she flipped through the images. "Harper, these pictures help us understand what was happening," she explained. "You've done something very important tonight by showing us these." As dawn broke, Harper sat in Sam's kitchen drinking hot chocolate, emotionally exhausted but somehow lighter than she could ever remember feeling. The constant pressure to perform, to be valuable, to please clients, it had lifted, leaving room for her to simply be a child. "What happens now?" Harper asked, her voice small but steady. Sam, who had been speaking with officials in the living room, sat beside her. "Your father will need to talk to a judge about his business practices. Meanwhile, you need a safe place to stay." Harper's eyes filled with tears. "Can I stay here, in the blue house with the garden?" Sam took a deep breath. "I've been talking to the authorities about that possibility. As a former child service worker with clearances still active, I could be your emergency foster placement. Would you like that?" The smile that spread across Harper's face wasn't the practiced, sunshine smile her father had taught her. It was wobbly, uncertain, and completely genuine. Perhaps her first truly authentic smile in years. "Yes, please," she whispered. Later, as Harper finally drifted to sleep in the guest room that might become her own, she held Mr. Whiskers close and murmured, "We did it. Just like the princess in the book, we saved ourselves." Sam stood in the doorway watching over Harper, her heart breaking and healing simultaneously for this remarkable child who had found the courage to rewrite her own story. 3 weeks had passed since the night of Harper's brave phone call. The blue house had slowly transformed. A booster seat appeared at the kitchen table. Colorful drawings adorned the refrigerator, and a small section of Sam's garden had been designated as Harper's Corner, where marigold seeds were beginning to sprout. Yet despite these outward signs of normalcy, Harper's adjustment wasn't simple. Sam discovered this one morning when she found all the kitchen cabinets meticulously organized, with Harper standing on a chair at 6 a.m., carefully arranging canned goods by size. "Harper, sweetie, what are you doing up so early?" The little girl froze. "Preparing the space for optimal client impression. Father says a disorganized environment suggests disorganized service." Sam gently helped Harper down from the chair. "Remember, there are no clients here. This is just our home." "But I need to earn my keep," Harper insisted, her voice taking on the rehearsed quality that appeared whenever she fell back into old patterns. "Father says nothing is free in this world." Sam knelt to meet Harper's eyes. "In some homes like ours, children don't have to earn basic things like food, shelter, or love. They're given freely." Harper's brow furrowed in genuine confusion. "Then how do you know my value?" The innocent question nearly broke Sam's heart. "Your value isn't in what you do or how you perform, Harper. It's in who you are, a wonderful, brave, kind-hearted girl who deserves to just be a child." These moments came frequently, Harper asking how much, how her dinner cost, apologizing profusely for spilled juice, practicing her smile in the mirror before school. Each instance revealed another layer of her father's calculated conditioning. Dr. Miller, now Harper's regular therapist, explained it to Sam during a consultation. "She's been trained to see herself as a commodity, not a child. Recovery will take time, consistency, and endless reassurance." At school, Harper was slowly finding her footing. Miss Caroline created a gentle environment where Harper could learn to play and interact without performance pressure. Some days were better than others. Moments of genuine childhood joy interrupted by sudden withdrawals into formal, businesslike behavior. The hardest part came when Harper learned she would need to speak to officials about her father at an upcoming hearing. The night before her testimony, Sam found Harper sitting in her garden corner, whispering to her sprouting marigolds. "I have to tell them about the business tomorrow," Harper confided to the tiny green shoots. "Father will be so angry." Sam sat beside her on the garden bench. "Are you scared about tomorrow?" Harper nodded solemnly. "Father says loyalty is the most important business virtue. If I tell them about the clients and the pictures, I'm being disloyal." Sam chose her words carefully. Sometimes being truthful is more important than loyalty, especially when loyalty is being used to keep harmful secrets. Will father go to jail? Harper asked, her voice small. I don't know yet. That's for the judge to decide after hearing everyone's stories, including yours. Harper touched a tiny marigold sprout gently. Dr. Miller says what father did was wrong, even though I wasn't hurt on the outside. Dr. Miller is right. Children should be protected, not used for business. Harper considered this, her young mind wrestling with complex moral concepts. If I tell the truth tomorrow, will it help other children too? It might, Sam answered honestly. Your bravery could protect others. Harper nodded decisively, a flicker of determination crossing her face. Then I'll tell them everything, about the sale sign, the clients, the pictures, and the practice smiles. I'll tell them how he said I was only valuable when I made money. That night, as Sam tucked Harper into bed, the little girl asked a question that revealed how far she'd come. Sam, if father was wrong about my value coming from business, where does real value come from? Sam smiled gently. From being exactly who you are. No performance required. The family court building loomed large and imposing, its stone steps seeming to stretch endlessly upward. Harper clutched Sam's hand. Tightly as they climbed, Mr. Whiskers secretly tucked into her small backpack for courage. Remember, Sam reassured her, you only need to tell the truth. Dr. Miller will be right beside you the whole time. Inside, the juvenile courtroom had been arranged to be less intimidating for child witnesses. Instead of the formal judge's bench, they sat at a round table. Instead of a witness stand, there was a comfortable chair with cushions. Dr. Miller waited for them with a reassuring smile. Hello, Harper, she greeted warmly. I've explained to the judge and the attorneys how brave you are and that this is a difficult day. Harper nodded solemnly. I brought Mr. Whiskers, but he's hiding in my backpack. Is that okay? Absolutely, Dr. Miller assured her. Would Mr. Whiskers like to sit with you while you talk to us? For the first time that morning, Harper smiled, a genuine smile that reached her eyes. Yes, please. The proceedings began gently. The judge, a grandmotherly woman with kind eyes and silver hair, introduced herself as Judge Coleman. She explained that Harper would be helping them understand what happened at the trailer and during her father's business hours. Harper's father sat at a separate table with his attorney. He wore a suit and his charming smile, but it didn't reach his eyes as he watched Harper clutch her teddy bear. Harper, Judge Coleman began, can you tell us about your father's business and your role in it? Taking a deep breath, Harper launched into her story, how clients would visit the trailer, how she had to practice different smiles for different occasions, how her father assigned monetary value to her behaviors and appearance. Sometimes there was a sign, she explained, her voice small but clear. It said sale, and father would tell the clients about premium packages and photo opportunities. And what were these photos of? The judge asked gently. Just me, in different outfits. Sometimes holding toys I wasn't allowed to play with afterward. Father said my innocent look was marketable. Throughout her testimony, Harper's father shifted uncomfortably, his confident facade cracking as his daughter's words painted the true nature of his business model. The prosecutor presented evidence, the camera Harper had found, business records recovered from the trailer, online advertisements carefully worded to skirt legal boundaries. He told me I was valuable to the business, Harper continued, growing stronger as she spoke, that I needed to earn my keep by being perfect for the clients. If I performed well, I got rewards like lasagna or extra bedtime stories. When it was the defense attorney's turn, he approached carefully. Harper, did your father ever allow anyone to harm you physically? No, Harper answered truthfully. He said that would devalue the business model. The clients just looked and took pictures and sometimes talked to me about their own children who weren't as well behaved as me. The attorney seemed relieved until Harper added, but it still felt wrong. I wasn't allowed to be a real child. I was a business asset. The simplicity and clarity of her statement seemed to affect everyone in the room. Even her father's attorney paused, momentarily at a loss for words. As the hearing concluded, Judge Coleman spoke directly to Harper. "Thank you for your bravery today. You've helped us understand something important that many adults might have missed." Outside the courtroom, Harper found Miss Caroline, Officer Davis, and Mrs. Bennett waiting. They surrounded her with support, each offering small words of encouragement and pride. "I did it," Harper whispered to Sam as they walked toward the exit. "I told the truth, even the hard parts." Sam squeezed her hand. "Yes, you did. And I'm prouder of you than I can possibly say." As they stepped into the sunlight, Harper looked up at the clear blue sky and felt something new, a lightness, as if a heavy backpack had been lifted from her small shoulders. For the first time, she didn't need to calculate her value or practice her expressions. She could simply be Harper, a 6-year-old girl holding her teddy bear, stepping toward a different kind of future. Behind them, Miss Caroline watched with tears in her eyes. "She's going to be okay, isn't she?" she asked Officer Davis quietly. He nodded. "More than okay. That little girl has more courage than most adults I know." In the car heading home, Harper gazed out the yard window at passing trees and buildings, no longer seeing them as backdrops for potential business venues, but simply as parts of a world she was now free to explore as a child. "Sam," she asked suddenly, "can we plant more flowers in our garden today?" "Our garden," Sam repeated with a smile. "Yes, Harper, we absolutely can." 6 months had passed. The trailer was gone, transformed by the community into a small garden park where children from Harper's school planted flowers each spring. Harper stood in her special corner of Sam's garden, now officially her garden too since the adoption papers had been finalized last week. Her marigolds had bloomed brilliantly, their orange and yellow petals catching the late afternoon sunlight. Beside them, new seeds waited in the soil, seeds Harper had chosen herself from the garden center without asking permission or calculating their value. "Harper!" "Special delivery," Sam called from the porch. Harper ran up the path, her movements free and childlike, no longer measured for maximum client appeal. The changes were subtle but profound. She laughed without covering her mouth, wore clothes chosen for comfort rather than presentation, and asked questions without fear of breaking character. On the porch, Sam held a small wrapped package. "This arrived today. Something I had made specially for you." Harper carefully unwrapped the gift, gasping softly as she revealed a beautiful new outfit for Mr. Whiskers, tiny overalls with 3 simple words embroidered across the front. "Not for sale." Tears filled Harper's eyes as she hugged the bear to her chest. "He's just like me now." Sam knelt beside her. "Yes, he is. Neither of you is for sale. Not ever again." Harper touched the embroidery gently. "Can we put him in the garden? By my flowers?" Together they created a small seat for Mr. Whiskers among the marigolds. As they stepped back to admire their work, Harper smiled. Not the practiced sunshine smile from before, but a genuine expression of pure, unperformed joy. "You know," Sam said softly, "your real smile is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen." Harper looked up, her eyes clear and bright in the golden afternoon light. "That's because it's not for sale," she said simply. "It's just for us." As the sun began to set over the blue house with the garden, a little girl and her teddy bear sat among flourishing flowers, both finally free, both exactly where they belonged, both permanently, unquestionably not for sale.